We're live.
You're live, and it's what it says on our screen here. So, welcome everyone to the Good Medicine Way here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Looks like we're already starting a good crowd to start coming on our screen here. A lot of new friends, some old friends, and there's an oar in the water there with a guy named Rob. Hey. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Glad you're with us again, and acknowledge the land that we're on here. We're in the land of the Hopi Indians and the Navajo to our west, and the Pueblo is the land that we're on right here, with the Sandia Pueblo to our north and the Isleta Pueblo to our south. And things are kind of getting better now, and I think feast days are going to start opening up more, so there'll be lots of food to eat when we go into those days. So those days are getting better and better around here. So if you got your Bible, your First Nations Version Bible, and I'm going to do a prayer in here, and I'm going to throw out here a challenge because how many of you know the Lord's Prayer by heart? Everybody, right? I know sometimes we know it so by heart and so rotely that it kind of lost its meaning sometimes if we say it too fast and not thinking about it. But it does bring comfort to us to say it verbally and say it in times of need. But the First Nations version, I'm going to throw this out there for next week. I know there's somebody here that's got an excellent memory, that I'm going to put it out there to someone to come on and raise your hand when you're ready, that will see if you can say the First Nations version Lord's Prayer by heart next week. And so, and there'll be prizes. There'll be prizes. I got a couple of Jonathan Miracle CDs. I'll give you your choice, and then we'll get them to you. So I'm going to read that. And I think that when we read it from another version, especially the First Nations version, it really makes us get past that rote memory time, and then we get to see some of the thought for thought, in translation and in all the work that went into the First Nations version. So I'm going to read this for you here. It's on page 9, Matthew 6:10. I'm going to start at verse 9. We're usually used to hearing that part. Instead, when you send your voice to the Great Spirit, here is what you should say. O Great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice. All these things we need each day. Release us from the things we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have things done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from the good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. Aho, may it be so. So with that, I want to open us up here with the Grovers with our first song, Powwow 61.
Yeah, so we're going to do two songs. Powwow 61, which is our interpretation of a version of Psalm 61 that Matthew Ward wrote a long time ago. We melded together with some grass dance stuff. And I want to do that one tonight. We haven't done it for a little while, but Psalm 61 speaks a lot about God being our refuge and strengthening us and getting us through trials. And so Ji-gaabiikwe is going to be talking a lot about faith and resilience tonight. So, having that reliance on God, on Creator, seemed like a good thing. So we're doing that one. And then we're going to do a song called Witness Cloud, which was written by Glenn Kaiser, who one of these days we're going to get down here. But he's a blues singer from Chicago, and also does a lot of urban ministry up that way. And Leah and I worked with him for 2.5 decades. He's a good friend. And so that song is from the verse in Hebrews that talks about the cloud of witnesses around us. And I think for natives especially, when you think about those that have gone before us, being able to give us strength when we're in trials, it seemed like a good fit with the two songs together with what our theme is tonight. So without further ado, let me get the screen shared and whatnot. And for those watching the Facebook live stream, I think I got things fixed, but often when it screen shares, it messes up. But since I'm about to start singing a song, I won't be able to fix it until after the songs are done. So if the video blanks out, sorry, Facebook live stream, but you should still get the audio.
Hear my cry, oh God. Listen to my prayer. From the ends of the earth, I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a refuge for me. And the time We
Hey, we were really getting into it here, just feeling it. It was really, really good. Thank you, guys. It was awesome. Yeah, we can't wait to have Glenn come down this way. So we look forward to that. We'll start planning something here. We gotta give us a deadline. Can't get anything done unless we get a deadline going on that. All right, we got Joe Lopez. Got a new one here. Notable natives. Joe, you can take it away.
So, if you start talking about a book that you bought on vacation, then maybe people start asking you to do things about it. Anyway, um, here's a book that my wife and I got when we were in Tahoe, and yeah, it's just something we're going through with my kids, and I really think we kind of all have someone in our life that has added positively to our existence or to our life and helped us out or was just looking out for us. Or so I want to encourage to think of those people when we are just living. So my wife grew up in above the Aleutian chain in Alaska, and so it's Aleut territory, and so there is Sirgay. Here's a picture of him. You can see it, and he is no longer this side of reality. He passed away in 1989, but he is an elder from the Aleut people, and he a little bit about their story. They the Russians were there as a colonizer, and so why his name is Sirgay. And in maybe when he was like 9 years old, the United States had been there for a while, and they outlawed their main kind of fishing food source. So a lot of technology died, as far as like their bidarkas, their skin canoes, kayaks, and techniques of fishing. So he made little models and kept it alive that way. And so he's not recognized for keeping that tradition alive. All his models are like in museums and stuff, but he doesn't have like recognition there. And then later in his life, they were interned like the Japanese were in World War II. And so all the Aleutian chains, native people, and along the mainland coast were all evacuated to Southeast Alaska and got crammed into old canneries. And a lot of people died, and it was just kind of a bad deal. So later in life, he ended up going back to where he had grown up and traveled extensively, working on reclaiming culture and sharing his teachings. And so I appreciate Sirgay and his life and the love that he had for his people. So
Cool. Very cool. And we all got somebody in our lives that we can look back on and remember how they affected our lives. For sure, Joe. Thank you so much on that. Creation Insights tonight. Umpeta Daka, she's going to be sharing with us tonight. unmute yourself.
Oh, yes, I am so sorry. I didn't realize I didn't push it correctly. Hello, everybody. I'm Umpetadaka, Monroe Jocko. Hello, hello. Hey, I'm so excited for what Ji-gaabiikwe has to share. Hey, I'm so excited. I love the songs for tonight. But yeah, so thinking about creators' insights. Earlier this week, hey, sorry, I got my little man chilling over here by me. Hey, and daddy. Hey, yes. But I was thinking about how we all have to like help each other. This week I actually had the chance to help one of my cousins out of a really tough spot. And I got to I got a lot of fulfillment from that. By just doing something that I needed to have done when I was in dire straits. It's like help one another, even if it's just something really small, like giving them a ride to the store or giving them a ride to their doctor's appointments, you know. Okay. And like just to help and do not expect anything in return. Because when you don't expect things to return to you like that, it's going to come back to you in a different way. Like she was trying to give me some money for gas and I was like, just hold on to it. I may need you one day. And she started crying. It was like something that was really nice because, you know, she needed some support and I just happened to be there, you know? But yeah, think about the old ways, like what our grandparents taught us and our great grandparents taught us and how they would give things and not expect anything in return. And then they would end up getting something back even bigger, something that was actually really needed more than just monetary gift or something. And like, that's how our families made it through it. That's how our tribes made it through, was helping one another and placing others before themselves in this way. And I just felt like it was a good time, you know, it was a good time to talk to her. And like when we help, you know, we help because we have also gone through those times as well, where we needed somebody. And if we can be that somebody for them, even if it's just listening to what they have to say or anything like that, it's a really good feeling, really good thing. It will come back to you tenfold in many different ways. So that's Creator's Insight for this week. So thank you for letting me share.
All right, thank you. And thank you again for being our speaker last week. This was very good. Thank you so much for that. Reading our Creator's Word tonight from Job 1. James. Is it? James 1, 2 through 4. Tamaya is going to be sharing with us.
Hi, so I will be reading James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. My sacred family members, whenever your trust in the Great Spirit is tested, count it as a reason to dance for joy. For you know that when your trust is put to the test, your ability to stand firm grows stronger. So keep standing firm until you have passed the test. Then you will have gained all the maturity and strength of character needed to finish walking the good road.
Very much on that. Smoke signals. We've made a little change to our announcement time. We're going to call it smoke signals now. And I know probably many of you have seen little memes and that on your Facebook and your texts and all of that, where natives are sending smoke signals, and there'll be different things like, oh, there's a misspelled word or something in the smoke. So, but the smoke signals is our time of announcements. And the first one that I want to do here tonight is the First Nations Version Bible. It's it's number 1 on the InterVarsity Press now for several months now. And I'd like to again ask, and if your ministry out there is able to pull together and donate to us books, several of this version of the Bible for us, we part of our ministry here is to get them in the hands of Native people out here on the res, out here in the city, and also when I travel, I'm able to give those to Native people for free. So if you yourself as an individual would like to order some for us, that would be really awesome. But if your ministry can also order, I know that you do get a bulk rate when you order them, and you can mail them, usually made to my house because there's usually nobody here at the church that can pick up a box for us. So if you can do that, First Nations version. It comes in this paperback one, and it also comes in a little bit more expensive one, hardcover. And what I've been doing with the hardcover ones that are given to us is giving those to pastors and ministry leaders so that as a special gift for them for the work that they do. Because we just had Pastor Appreciation Sunday here that just went by, and want to make sure that we always recognize our pastors and our leaders in our ministries too. So, who's leading? Leah Grover is leading our time.
Yeah, another smoke signal for y'all is all the ladies are welcome to come to our Women's Circle Mountain, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And when you go to the Good Medicine Way Facebook group, sometimes some of how your Facebooks display, there's an events tab, and you just click on that and it'll be the Women's Circle. But now they've arranged it to where I have to go to the left, and you can find the events tab. Let me just go to it so I make sure I'm steering everyone in the right place.
Yeah.
On the far left, you browse, and then it gives you community
Oh,
home or
browse.
events. So yeah, under browse is events. So we're reading The Lost History of Christianity, and it talks about the first few centuries of Christianity when it was had very strong churches in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, and it looks at why did some of those survive and others not survive, and it's a book that my daughter recommended to us, so it's quite interesting. It's just things that we are never taught. I mean, the church used to be thriving in these places that we haven't even heard of. And then if anyone else has any smoke signals that you'd like for us to read tonight or for you to announce, just put them in the chat.
I know WJF is coming up for one, and a couple of our people are going to be attending that. Leah and Brian and daughter Sean Dean are be going to out there to Reno, El Reno in Oklahoma. So that's not too far down the road from us. Everywhere you go out here is a distance, so driving on I-40 here, old Route 66, you can get there in 6 hours, I believe. So.
Yeah, right in Petadaka's backyard.
Yeah, right there. So that's coming up here in November. So. Anyone else?
But I was gonna say, yeah, WJF, the Would Jesus Eat Fry Bread Conference, is November 11th through the 13th. That's Veterans Day weekend. So it's going to be over here in El Reno, Oklahoma, in the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations. And we're currently seeking some volunteers if you guys are free that weekend to come down. We're looking for some speakers and some people just to share things, and we're just really excited to be partnering with the Cheyenne and Arapaho people. So yeah, if you guys can come on down, it's gonna be worth it. It's supposed to be an amazing one this year, just like all the other years before. So thank you.
I love your smile. You just cheer everybody up with your smile. Well, let everyone know, on the 28th, I'll be in I'll be in Anaheim, sorry. I was just in Pasadena. I'll be speaking with the Methodist Native churches from the West Coast. They're going to be having a meeting down there at the Native American United Methodist Church in Anaheim. So they want to learn, and they want me to give me the couple hours to speak about what we're doing right here. And I want to let you all know our order of worship that we do here, you're welcome to use that. Take it and make it part of your ministry. I know when I'm going to be talking with these churches, some of them are so traditional Methodists. It's like it's time to free that up a little bit and bring in some new blood, especially for Native ministries. We tried to make this order of worship something that's very unique and very positive saying some of the same things that you do in a regular order of worship, but in a new way. So pray for me as I go there. I might be, it might be some tough ground, but there might be a lot of open minds that want to make some big changes in there, in the way they do ministry to the Native folks that is needed, really, because we've been doing this order of worship for some several hundred years now, and it's kind of getting kind of old. But it's good for the old people, but the new people need something new. So pray for me as I make this trip. And Laura is going to be going with me on this trip as well, so she'll be able to share. Anything else? Anybody else got one coming up in your area? All right, if we don't have any, Leah, giveaway.
Yeah, the giveaways, that's the new term for the offering. If anyone has any giveaways that they want to send our way, just go to the top, again, of our Facebook Good Medicine Way group, and there's a logo that you can click on to donate through PayPal.
And if for some reason PayPal doesn't work for you, just send us a message, and we'll figure something out. So yeah, right now we're set up for PayPal, but you know, we can work with other things if PayPal isn't friendly for you for some reason.
Yeah, so we're making those kind of good changes here. So many different ways to give money. I can't keep up with it. I'll take cash anytime. Hey. So, all right, introduction to our speaker. Leah's going to introduce our speaker tonight. Leah?
All right, well, Ji-gaabiikwe is an Anishinaabe name meaning where the land and water meet woman. Her colonial name is Diane. She's a Nakawe, Inikwe, Saulteaux woman, Nahia Iskwe, Cree woman, and Métis woman, and is a registered member of the Yellow Quill First Nation, a signatory of Treaty 4. She's the mother of Navagijo, the moon crossing the night sky while I'm sleeping, also known as Kennedy. They both currently reside in Askana Asasteki Cree for Pile of Bones, now known as Regina. Ji-gaabiikwe is an intergenerational residential school survivor and a 60s scoop survivor. She's the founder of Moxon Lodge, where she shares her personal heart story of hurt, healing, and hope. It's an opportunity for Indigenous children, youth, and their families to unlearn and relearn who they are as Indigenous people through truth-telling, restoration, and relationship building. She's a registered social worker in the province of Saskatchewan and has been in the social work field for the last 20 years. Ooh. Give it up for Ji-gaabiikwe Kempo.
Miigwech. So I'm just going to go into kind of my story and presentation, and it kind of sums up why with faith and resilience. I always struggle with how to begin things. I'll just get right into the meat and potatoes of it, I guess. So this is there's many stories I could have chosen, but for this story, you'll understand why I chose this one. So around the time that I came to faith in 2014, I began my journey at Regina Youth for Christ, which is a faith-based global organization that is predominantly non-Indigenous, I guess, here in Canada specifically. And so this was a season that challenged my faith during my time. I was with them for probably, I think, almost 5 years, I think. But after working with them for almost 2 years, I was invited to share my testimony at a staff meeting. I felt very comfortable and confident in sharing my personal heart story, and I believed I was supported by most of my coworkers. I ended my presentation with an Anishinaabe hand drum song, and I was not prepared for the cultural racism that I received. The sting of cultural racism is so hard to describe. Like, this went deep into the core of my spiritual being. It literally rattled my bones. And so being told that my culture was of the devil and that I was worshiping a false god because I sang in my native tongue and I used a hand drum, which they said I was summoning up evil spirits. And what followed were conversations of, I love and support you, but your culture needs to be left at the door. And that you can't be Christian and you can't be a Christian and Indigenous. I had to choose. What a gut punch. And so I started to spiral into a storm of confusion, hurt, and spiritual pain because the God that I was beginning to know and the scriptures that I was beginning to understand was not what I was hearing from my fellow Christian brothers and sisters. I learned to persevere and tolerate with patience and grace as I was being personally attacked because of what I thought, because of my own Indigenous expression of faith. What was intended to break me ended up strengthening my relationship with Creator by developing a resilient faith. And so from this, James describes this resilient faith in the first chapter of his letter, which chapter 1, verses 2 and 3 and 12. And so my sacred family members, whenever your trust in the Great Spirit is tested, count it as a reason to dance for joy. For you know that when your trust is put to the test, your ability to stand firm grows stronger. And then in verse 12, he says, Creator's blessing rests on the one who stands firm under testing. For once they have passed the test, they will receive the headdress of life that has been promised to those who love the Great Spirit. So James is encouraging us to think about the trials in our lives in a different way. It's in those difficult moments that Creator shapes us. I made the choice to persevere amidst the pain I was experiencing. This is when my faith strengthened me, where I leaned into Creator sets free. Because James isn't saying that Creator causes the pain or the hurt. There's not a promise that we won't experience hurt in our lives, but what is promised is that Creator will be with us. He will be walking with us on our journey. James is trying to encourage us that those difficult moments can lead us to faith, which is resilient. It was in those darkest times at Youth for Christ when I felt all alone and thought the spiritual pain was never going to end. But when I fixed my eyes on Creator sets free and I drew my strength from Him, I grew stronger in that relationship with Creator. So instead of spiraling away from my faith, I drew onto that strength and I listened to His voice. Wasn't easy. It was very difficult. But deep down, I knew I couldn't be the only one that was experiencing this and asking those questions that, unfortunately, that many of us still ask. Can I be Indigenous and a Christian? Can I still express my cultural faith practices and be honoring and worshiping to God? I was eventually introduced into an Indigenous learning community, which is Indigenous Pathways. It's actually currently the organization I actually work for. I began feeling a sense of peace and calm in my spirit as this community was able to express how I was feeling into words. My spirit was coming alive to know that others have journeyed before me, paving a way for folks like me. They have embraced me and have been a huge support on my journey of being an Indigenous Jesus follower. The Creator had already been speaking into my heart. I just needed to quiet my mind and listen only to Him. He created me unique and special. He made me for a purpose. He has a plan for me. I am His masterpiece. God created the world that's filled with incredible diversity. He created everyone different. There are no two of us alike. We each are special. This uniqueness doesn't happen by accident. It's part of His grand design and plan. Even our striving to affirm our own identity isn't accidental. Each of us is designed to bring Him glory in a way that no one else can. He wants to accomplish His good works in each of us and through each of us. That is why it's okay that our faith practices may differ from one another. For me, it's a way of life, Minoba Madzuin, living the good life, knowing what my heart is telling me, knowing that Creator is speaking to me. Reclaiming my Indigenous identity has been an integral part of my healing. I don't believe you can be healed when your core identity is fragmented, because your core identity is who you are, who God created you to be. For most of my life, I was almost totally disconnected from my Indigenous identity and my Indigenous culture. God created me as an Anishinaabe-Kwe, an Indigenous woman, and I need to honor and celebrate my indigeneity. Isn't this the gospel? To believe that out of something dark can emerge light, that out of death can come new life, that out of despair we can experience hope. When we continue to believe, our faith becomes stronger, more powerful, and able to endure. We live into a life of resilient faith. I am rediscovering who I am as an Anishinaabe-Kwe, following the Jesus way. I know that Creator did not make a mistake when he created me in my mother's womb, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. But yet society wants me to deny my cultural identity, as they condemn it as being evil and not worthy of God. But I know in my heart, Jesus is not asking me to divorce myself from being an Indigenous woman. God has affirmed my identity, and that we all need to celebrate our differences, walking alongside one another with love and respect. And so to follow Jesus means to walk in harmony, because we are following him in the way he walked. And it means to trust that we have the power to walk in harmony, even in midst of a broken world full of broken people who have lost their way, because he gives us that power through his Spirit. It means to offer that power to heal and to restore others around us as we invite them to walk in harmony alongside us, and to spread the good news of Creator's Son to the world, hoping and trusting that one day through the power of Jesus, all of creation will be brought back into harmony, and things will once again be the way Creator intended them to be at the beginning. Creator wants us to have a life of peace with him, peace with ourselves, great relationships, real joy, and the ability to become everything he has created us to be. God breathes into humans the breath of life, and there is something of God in everybody. God is calling me to walk with our Indigenous youth, their families, and their communities in a good way. Because of my heart's story, God is gifting me the opportunity to give back to my people across this land called Turtle Island. Being involved in this reconciliation process is ultimately about caring about what's happening to other people around you and trying to get to know their story. Because Creator made me, he made me to love him, and he lives in me. Therefore, I am led by my heart, because that's where Creator is. He's a part of who I am and how I live my life. I can now better reflect the light and life of Jesus because of that resilient faith. And so I can proudly now, and Leah has already introduced me, but I can proudly now stand and introduce myself. Ani Tanze Ji-gaabiikwe. Hello, my name is Where the Land and Water Meet Woman. God created me as a Nakaway-Inukwe, Neheo-Iskwe, and Métis woman. Having an Indigenous name and knowing my cultural roots is an integral part of my Indigenous identity, and I need to honor and celebrate my indigeneity as a means to glorify God. And so the quote I chose by George Mueller, to learn strong faith is to endure great trials. I have learned my faith by standing firm amidst severe testing. And so during that time at YFC, being faced with other so-called Christians and telling me who God has created me to be, telling me what I should or shouldn't do, was a really a test and that of my faith. And so, like I said, it was a time where it could have broken me, and I could have spiraled and walked away from Christ. It took me a long time actually to accept Jesus in my heart, because of the hypocrisy and because of how many still believe Indigenous practices are not worthy of God. But once I stopped listening to their voices and only listened to him, then that changed the direction, that changed my path. And so now I'm embracing the path that God is calling me to. And so being able to, I guess, take off the masks that I felt I had to wear in the white spaces, and really embrace and reclaim my Indigenous name. And so moving from Diane and introducing myself as Ji-gaabiikwe, and actually I had short hair, and so being able to grow my hair and being proud of all of my Indigenousness, and not shy away from it, and to be proud as not only am I an Indigenous woman, but I also look like an Indigenous woman, and I need to embrace all of me, and not just a little part of me. And so it is still a struggle, but again, with having resilience in my faith and believing in who my Creator is, continues to put me in spaces with His strength, to be stepping in or standing in the gap for others, and pushing the way so our younger generations don't have to experience or less than what I've experienced. And it's not an easy task to carry some of those burdens, but without His strength, I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing, and advocating for our young people, and sitting in some of the difficult spaces that Creator puts me in. But I have He has my back, so I'm good in those spaces. So that's it's just a short. I didn't want to go too much into it because my story is horrendous in those spaces, but it was just being at Youth for Christ and that challenge in my faith at that time really showed how, with what James is saying, it's like reframing some of those obstacles, those challenges, those circumstances, and really seeing the blessing in it. I'm still I've kind of healed from it, but I'm still in good relationships with Youth for Christ. I'm still working with them. They have started to change some of their cultural competence and training for their staff. And so I just couldn't be working within that box, but now it's on my terms. And so it's easier to be able to journey alongside them. So they're fully aware of, part of it is sometimes Creator puts you on a path where you have to experience something in order to see something good. And having a strong relationship with Him, yeah, I'd probably do it again. So miigwech.
Hey, man, thank you. Wow. Yeah, and she's available for speaking engagements, I'm sure. You have to start taking it on the road there, Ji-gaabiikwe. I know up here in Northport, my friend up there, even just taking the video of your talk just now could be something that, it's free, it's out there, you can use it, and just give credit where credit's due. And I think WAVA, that would be something up there in Michigan that would really help your ministry up there. So thank you, Ji-gaabiikwe. Now we'll turn it over to Brian here, who's going to lead us through our Q&A time.
Yeah, so we're just going to have time for questions and comments and that kind of thing. So we can just, as you have something, just speak it out. If somebody else is already speaking, just go ahead and put your hand up, and I'll try to keep track of what order hands came up in. And then if you're watching the live streams, we'll be monitoring the chats there, so you can put a question or a comment in the chats there as well. To start things off, one question I have is what helped you to not just hold on to bitterness for Youth for Christ? Because they're even though they were trying to do a good thing, but they really did this very injurious thing to you. And when people have those experiences, it's very easy just to just be like, I don't ever want to even see those people again, just get out of here. And a lot of times people like end up hanging on to this bitterness that kind of festers in their soul a little bit. So just like, how did you get to walk a healthy and good path away from Youth for Christ without it kind of, sliding you off into like a bad way?
I mean, it was a lot of prayer. It was surrounding myself and being covered in prayer was the biggest thing. I still have a great group of people who listen. And I think it was just of listening. And I mean, really, it was spending a lot of time with Creator. And that's kind of, I'm a runner. And that's where I find I'm actually the closest and where I let out a lot of emotions. I've done a lot of like what I call is like prayer runs. And so there's a lot of emotion that's shed during those times. I guess I always believe that there's hope that people will change. And so I stuck with YFC for quite a lot longer than I should have. But I don't know. I mean, and I look at my life and the resilience of all my circumstance. And again, before I even came to faith, like I knew there was something stronger, but I just couldn't put my finger on it because there is no way I should have lived in or had survived in some of the circumstances. And so, I mean, that's just a supernatural thing that I don't necessarily, I can figure out, and just believing that Creator has his plan is written. And so of giving me the strength in order to move on from one situation to another, because there's something greater that he has in store for me. It's people have asked me that question, and not just with this circumstance, but with other of my parts of my story. And I just hand it all to him, because by my own strength, I would have lost it, and I would have walked away at the time. But
Cool. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm just curious. I've unfortunately seen those kinds of circumstances with a lot of people, and some people manage to really, tuck into the grace that comes from Creator, and to kind of really walk in a good way away from unhealthy things, and then I've seen other people that it just really kind of wrecks them for a long time. So yeah.
I think giving it to him, because I look at a huge example is during the trial of my brother's murder, and so sitting and watching the men who murdered him, and really giving myself and the strength to Jesus to be able to sit in that courtroom and to actually look at the men, not necessarily as monsters, but other human beings who've been hurt, and whatever evil has covered them to make them do this, what they did, and to be able to forgive them. And to me, going through that process of really that testament of how when you give give the burden to Christ, and I don't need to carry that. I don't need to carry that anger. I don't need to carry those feelings, because I look at others during that time who kept those feelings, and they got sick, right? And so then their coping strategies were not the best. And whereas I let that go, I mean, it's still painful, it still hurts, but I was able to just give it to Christ and especially once I forgave, like I was just a lot lighter, and just was able to really grieve and mourn the loss of my brother and not have to carry the negative emotions against these men. Because I mean, the Creator is going to take care of them. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
I'd like to share something. Yeah, with Ji-gaabiikwe, I've known you many years now, and I think a big part of this healing that comes out is surrounding yourself with good people that understand your journey and being a part of Indigenous pathways and I-emergence, all of that, and being able to share the life that you now live is beautiful. I just want to encourage you to continue, and it's good to be able to work with you now and then when I'm with you. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Okay,
You are an amazing light.
Yeah.
And inspiration for sure.
Amen. I had a couple different kind of questions. Okay, I'm interested in languages. So it sounds like kwe is the way to say woman.
Yes.
So how do you say man? What's the man prefix? Is this Cree?
I don't know. Because I've just been focused on me.
That's okay. Well, okay. And then the second part of that was Moccasin Lodge. That was in the introduction. I just wanted to hear about that a little bit more. If you wanted to, how did you make that, and what all do you do there?
Yeah, I mean, it was that transition from Youth for Christ in really listening to what Creator was calling me to do. And I wasn't able to do that in the framework of my job at Youth for Christ. And so needing to step away and allow Creator to really let me see the vision in that dream. Because it's always been about giving back to Indigenous youth, specifically those that have been in care, just because being in foster care, being through the 60 scoop and being adopted across the country, and a failed adoption, and back living in and out of group homes and treatment homes. And so experiencing the life of being a child, a youth in care. And so wanting to provide programs which I would have wanted when I was a teen. And so for me, it's always been about reclaiming my cultural identity, because there hasn't been, and there really isn't a lot of resources for our youth to access, to explore, to take the time to explore. Because a lot of programs, it's like, oh, like it's, a 4-week program, once a week kind of thing. And it's taken me like 20 some years on that journey. And so wanting to create a place where people can come and be guided in that exploration, because each journey is personal. And for many of our youth, they come from like different nations. Many of them currently are like Cree and Soto here in the prairies, but we have some Nakota and Dakota youth as well. And so creating that safe space for them to ask some of the questions, because up here, the reserves aren't very welcoming if you're an outsider. And so then there's no real safe place for people to go ask some of the traditional roles or some of the ceremonies. And so I want to create that space. So bringing in teachers, so like Michelle had spoken here couple weeks ago. And so this will be her second time coming and being part of our girls circle. Right. And so there's, and it's not a cost to our young people. Cause for me, I don't believe as Indigenous people, we should pay for teachings that were stolen from us. And so, but we need a place to get those teachings. And so that's kind of that vision of Moccasin Lodge. And so right now the focus is on our Oski Squay Walk, which is Cree for Young Women Helpers. And so this is my second year, like next week, actually this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So is the start of our second year for me hosting this program. And so bringing in our cookums and our aunties and sharing what it means to be Indigenous women. But also it's a place of healing, because some of them, it's a reprieve from their chaotic home life or city life, because we're actually out at a camp, we're out of the city. And so that's kind of one of the programs out of Moccasin Lodge. And then we have our kids culture camp, which this past summer was the first time being here in Saskatchewan. And so again, it's rebuilding community out on the land. So land-based learning, like hopefully in 2023, like we're going to learn how to tan and flesh hides. So it's learning some of those cultural practices where many of us don't get to experience because we don't live on reserve. And so for me, it's trying to find some of those practices that our kids are interested in. Like for our girls group, it's really being led by them. It's what they're needing and what they're asking for. And so we're going to be looking at getting Indigenous names for some of our girls, doing some of the rites of passages with the girls. But even as aunties and cookums too, like we never got to experience some of those rites of passages. So even doing that for ourselves. And so everybody has a role and a place in our circle. And it's just an ongoing learning, because I don't know, I'm relearning, I'm reclaiming, flying by the seat of my pants.
Good stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, lots of messages of thanks and encouragement coming down through the chat. Don't see any questions on the live streams yet. But yeah, very cool. Yeah, that was part of the reason with the art I did. I really wanted to find something to use that had like a young Indigenous person on it, because I don't know, anytime I hear your story, I always feel like it's like I always have this vision of you kind of like reclaiming your childhood and like making your childhood what it should have been rather than the horrors that it was. So yeah, that's why I really wanted to find like some kind of art with like a young Indigenous person on it. But yeah.
Looks like Wilfred Ndaka has your name.
Yeah, go ahead, Daka.
All right. Thank you for letting me speak again. And thank you for that beautiful story. It was amazing. It was, I like how you were very to the point too. But I also like that you shared, I was just wrote in the chat here that it feels like I think somebody had written before me about leaning on Creator in their Sunday sermon or something. But yeah, and then I was thinking about leaving behind a legacy, like how you were saying you're passing it on to your children, your daughter, and you're passing it on to the other youth, and it brought up thoughts of like, do not conform to the ways of the world, because you were being forced to worship in the certain way, and like you decided that you were not gonna do that. You're like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, what I was taught and what I'm learning. And I just thought it was like, it was just really beautiful that your story embodied like living your life in a way that you learn and not turning your back from it. And I also said it, I think it was crazy that we're all related. Like all of us have like going through the same struggles or going through something similar or somehow relating to one another. And like, yeah, I thought it was beautiful. And thank you for sharing your story and being strong enough to come here and share with us your pain and your struggle that you went through and how you overcame it, your inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, like, I mean, at the time, because I had just started to embrace my indigeneity, right? Really start to understand who I was, and then come to faith. And then somebody tell me that I can't be Indigenous, because like that I was like, I didn't just go through, that struggle of figuring out and really embracing my indigeneity only to tell somebody to tell me no. right? So I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, because I mean, everything that creator has put in front of me, like there was always a reason. And it just, yeah. And so that was part of why, but it's also my personality. I mean, I'm very stubborn. And so when somebody tells me no, or you can't do this, then it's like, it's like, yes, I can.
Yes, you watch me, right?
All right, Joe.
Go, girl. Go. Awesome.
Joe's got a hand up.
All right.
Two
Joe?
hands.
Hey, hand-
Got all his hands up.
Hi. Thank you. Yeah, I just thank you for your story and sharing that with us. Very much encouraging, and just kind of saying the same things as other people are. Yeah, I appreciate you. So I don't have a question, but
Thank you, Joe. Elsa?
All right, Lisa.
Yes, Quay, go. Just go, sister. I just so enjoyed everything you shared, and it really touched my heart when you talked about speaking and singing in your native tongue. And my heart just felt, the spirit of the Great Spirit, when it's upon you, it just comes out of you, it pours out of you. And how you didn't let it turn your back because they turned their back on you. But now God has used what was meant for harm for your good. And now you're helping so many. So I just say, go, Quay, go. Go. And I'm coming to see you, and I'll dance and I'll sing with you, even if I don't know what I'm saying. You can teach me. Amen.
Miigwech, thank you.
Jimmy. Another hand. Oh, Wava?
I'd like to say something. There's somebody else raised their hand.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jamie.
go, Jamie.
Okay. I've just been kind of wanting to say this for a while, actually, because I've noticed since I've been joining you guys for the last couple of months that I just hear a lot of similar stories that, that Native Americans that were involved in Christian churches were repeatedly told that, you can't be Native American and have your native expression of worship and be a Christian. And in some ways, I can actually relate to that. I think some of you know my background. On my mother's side, I have some Cherokee ancestry, but on my dad's side, I'm Jewish. My dad's a Messianic Jew. Some of you may have heard of that. Messianic Jews, they practice Judaism, they're Jewish, but they believe that Jesus, Yeshua, is the Messiah, so they are believers. But I have been told all my life that, that you cannot be a Jewish and be a Christian. And I know there's a lot more people nowadays who are aware of the Hebraic roots of Christianity. Thank goodness. But I grew up in the 1980s. In the 1980s in Texas, there's no Messianic Jews, no Messianic congregations. Most people didn't even know that Jesus was Jewish. So it's like if I tried to talk to them, like explain, Jesus was Jewish, the disciples were Jewish. Christianity was actually originally a Jewish religion. They would look at me like I was crazy. And like for me wanting to like practice Judaism and things like that, and to be a believer, they're like, you've got some kind of twisted beliefs, and then going to like Christian churches. I mean, there's no Messianic congregation. So, we went to non-denominational churches where they teach that, they teach replacement theology back then a lot. I don't know so much as they do now, but they taught, that the Gentile Christians replaced the Jewish people as God's chosen people. That, and that basically because the Jews killed Jesus, that basically God disowned them, is pretty much what they were teaching, and that's what I had to grow up hearing. And I always felt like, that I really just didn't belong there. And, for many different reasons. I mean, I'm a creative, artistic person. I think sometimes when people are creative and artistic, they're rejected by the Christian church. But especially for that, that was very offensive, and it didn't really make sense to me, and, oh, someone else is a Messianic Jew. Hey, cool. So, yeah, and another thing that a lot of times, there was that, and another thing that a lot of times Christians don't realize, like, what it means to sometimes be like a Jewish believer. Now I know a lot of people are more open to Hebraic roots of Christianity, thank goodness, but it's still difficult because, from the other side of it, then if you're Jewish and you're a believer, Jewish people, they also view you sometimes as a traitor. So some of you being a Messianic, whoever's a Messianic Jew may understand that they view you're ostracized by the Jewish community for being a believer. So it's difficult when you're, from both sides of it, Christians saying you can't be a Jew and be a Christian, and Jewish people saying you can't be a Jew and be a Christian. And yeah, it can be very difficult even still, because like I said, still Jewish people are ostracized. Like just a few days ago, I was at a Sukkot celebration. I ran into a Jewish lady there that I knew who's not a believer, who was there. And the first thing she said to me, don't tell anybody you saw me here. I was never here. And I know why she said that, because, you can be ostracized for it. And I said, I understand. It's no problem. I won't tell anybody. But I was just glad she was there. But I understand it. It's like you're ostracized. Even being seen with Messianic Jews, hanging out with them can be like a bad thing. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you like, supporting them or thinking of, anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to share that I can relate to some of those feelings that you were describing. And I just want to say, I really feel like the source of that is all the same. It's the same source. It's a spirit. It's a spirit of religion. I mean, it's the same spirit that inspired the Pharisees to criticize Jesus. The Pharisees that criticized Jesus and judged him, they were driven by a religious spirit. And it's the same spirit today, that we see in the Christian church when Christians judge each other for, wanting to be, if you're Native American, you want to worship in that way, or you're Jewish and you want to, express your faith that way. And it's that same religious spirit that drove the Pharisees to judge and criticize Jesus. And I don't know, to me, it's helpful to recognize what the source is, because it's so easy to take those things personal and to be hurt by those things. If like this, it's a religious spirit, and it's not like, this is still God's child. We just have to pray for people who are like religious and judgmental, that God will open their eyes. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
I think Wava had a hand up there.
I just wanted to share that I was so blessed when you said, how can you forgive? And you said, I know that God will deal with them. It's not mine to do. Yours to do is to forgive. Jesus set you free. Hello. Jesus, Creator sets free. And you're just a great testimony. The glow that you have in sharing that story of being set free is just fabulous. And with your permission, I would love to share the video that was spoken, that Casey recorded to help my people be set free and to welcome who they are, created in the image of God as Indigenous peoples.
Amen.
So I thank you for sharing tonight.
Miigwech. Yeah, it's out there. It's out in public now.
Yeah. Mhm.
That one up there in the corner.
Yeah. Lisa, with round two.
Jamie, I just wanted to let you know I'm the one and I'm not hiding, okay? Yes, I'm Messianic Jew and my husband's fully indigenous. And it can be hard with the clash of two cultures, but we have such a beautiful relationship. And I dance to the drum and sing, and I feel like, you know what? We can't change everybody around us. Only the great creator can change their heart. When he changes their heart, he'll change their mind. In the meantime, I'm going to do like Quay and be the me that God made me to be in the name of Yeshua. Amen. Because he loves us all. And I love you guys too, all of you. I'm so excited when I get to be here. Thank you for letting me be here. And
Oh, amen.
I'm sorry I talk too much.
No, good.
Thank you. That's awesome. Very encouraging. Amen.
Anything on the two? Question?
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, just a lot of encouragement there. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, let's.
Last call for comments.
Yeah. All right. Can't wait to read your book, Ji-gaabiikwe. It's next down the road. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. You're awesome. I'm glad I get to work with you. And I don't know. We'll be seeing you in January in LA. I'm sure. But we'll see. Well, thank you everyone for your comments and your encouragement to Ji-gaabiikwe. And we're going to have a song now by the Grovers. Kanarukwa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Standard closing round dance.
Yeah. And we're going to start sharing rattles. I make rattles. So I wanted to share these here. I make these as a craft that I sell when I travel. And there's several of them here that I make. And this one's in the key of F. This one's in the key of 7. So they have really no keys. But I'm going to start using these around as I try to keep beat with the music we have here.
Cool. All right.
All right.
I'll go ahead and share the words this time. But we encourage you all to. It's called the round dance because you're supposed to dance. So we encourage you to, in your own space and however you can, to dance and sing along to creators as we do this.
Yes, sir. Got our own choir.
right. Beautiful song. Love that song. We know that one by heart now. It's getting that kind of like our old hymns. We knew those by heart, and we knew the page number and everything. You know, we'd stand there and sing. It's just a blessing to hear the song. And now, as we're moving forward, a good medicine way, those songs are becoming so familiar to us. They bring us joy and they bring us peace. And as we hear them and reflect on them, it's good for our souls. So I want to send us off in a good way. Lord, we thank you so much. Good Medicine Way is a blessing to many. We thank you for those that come and share with us and those that respond and are involved in our Q&A and give encouragement to our speakers and those that have good words to say. Thank you for the wealth of speakers that we do have out there that we can share their many years of knowledge and wisdom and experiences. That's what Good Medicine Way wants to be about, to share that. So as we send everyone off, we send them in a good way in Jesus. Creator sets free. Amen. Oh.
All right. See you all next week. Who do we got on tap for next week?
Oh.
Let's see, what is they?
24th is Sarah Augustine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a local now, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think she's a local now, so, yeah. Sarah Augustine, yeah. Ken Gingrich, our friend who's on here now. He's,
Bye, Jamie.
Ken, he'll probably bring his group over here, maybe, in force with a few other people to join us next week, so we'll look forward to that. So thanks to everyone, and we'll say goodbye tonight.
Good night.
Yeah. Good, have a good evening. Love you all.